You probably don't know about Caesar Rodney or his 80-mile ride that changed the direction of our nation. But that needs to change today. Caesar Rodney was a delegate to the Continental Congress from the colony of Delaware. And on July 1st, 1776, the day before the big vote on independence, the one we talked about on Monday, he was at home in Dover, Delaware. He was handling business and dealing with state militia. He was also dying. Rodney had been suffering from cancer on his face. It had eaten away part of his skin and had disfigured him. He often wore a green silk scarf over the side of his face in public. But to make things worse, he also had asthma. This man was not a healthy man. On the evening of July 1st, a courier rode into Dover with urgent news from Philadelphia. The Continental Congress was about to take vote on independence the very next morning. Now, Delaware had 2 delegates already in Philadelphia. It had Thomas McKean, who was going to vote yes. Then there was Thomas Reed, who was going to vote no. Now that equals a tie. If Caesar Rodney did not get to Philadelphia by the time the vote happened the next morning, Delaware would not be able to break its tie. And if Delaware abstained, the unanimous vote for independence that the delegates wanted to send the whole world would not happen. Rodney got on a horse and started riding. The distance from Dover, Delaware to Independence Hall in Philadelphia is about 80 miles. In modern terms, that's not a long drive. It's about 2 hours. In 1776, on horseback, in the middle of a thunderstorm, with cancer on his face and asthma in his lungs, it's a completely different kind of trip altogether. He rode throughout the night. He rode in mud and lightning. He rode in the rain and got soaked to the bone. He changed horses along the way, but he kept going. And he arrived at Independence Hall in Philadelphia on the morning of July 2nd, 1776. His spurs were still in his boots, and his boots were covered in mud. But he walked in, and the vote was in progress. Delaware was called. George Reed voted no. Thomas McKean voted yes, and the chamber waited. Caesar Rodney, a man who looked like he should have been in a hospital, not in a meeting room, cast Delaware's vote for independence. That made the vote unanimous in the colonies that participated, 12 in favor, and New York abstaining. The Declaration of Independence was on its way. Rodney would later sign the parchment in August, like all of the rest of the signers. He would serve as a wartime governor of Delaware, but he would later die of cancer in 1784 at the age of 55. He never recovered from the cancer that disfigured him, and he would never live to see the country he helped found and what it would become. He, however, is on the back of the Delaware State Quarter, riding through the storm with his hand on the reins. You probably had one in your pocket, and you had no idea what you were looking at. And no, that's not Paul Revere. The lesson we can take from Caesar Rodney is that history is not moved only by the famous people, but history is mostly moved by the people whose names get lost in the noise, and who showed up on a Tuesday night to do the thing that nobody else could do at that moment. The Declaration of Independence doesn't get adopted unanimously without Caesar Rodney's ride. The American story doesn't happen with 10,000 Caesar Rodneys whose names history didn't bother to keep up with. You may not be famous. I'm not famous. Everybody listening to this will live a life, and nobody outside of their family will ever know anything about them. But that doesn't mean that what you do doesn't matter. It just means the credit you'll get isn't the point. The Caesar Rodneys didn't ride for credit. They rode because there was a tie that could be broken, and somebody had to do it. Tell somebody about Caesar Rodney at dinner tonight, in a text, or in a comment, anywhere. Just put his name back in the world. The man earned it 250 years ago. The least we can do is get his name out again. Have a great day.